Of all the various relationships and shifting configurations that can exist within a modern family, of all the potential relatives that can be foisted upon you, people you'll be tied to forever in documents and photographs, in obscure corners of memory, surely for sheer tenuousness, absurdity even, one figure must stand towering above all others. One figure alone and multi-hyphenated, the ex-brother-in-law. Hardly fabled in story and song, it's not a relationship that requires renewal. What's more, if you and your former spouse don't have any children, then there's really no reason for you ever to see this person again in your entire life. Unless, of course, you just happen to bump into him in the street and are unable, or not quick enough, to avoid making eye contact. It was a Tuesday afternoon in February, about 4 o'clock, sunny and not too cold. I was walking along 12th Street at a steady clip, smoking a cigarette, heading towards Fifth Avenue. I was in a bad mood and entertaining dark thoughts about a wide range of subjects. My book for Kerr and Dexter, Turning On, From Haight-Ashbury to Silicon Valley, chief among them, though there was nothing unusual about that, since the subject thrummed relentlessly beneath everything I did, every meal I ate, every shower I took, every ball game I watched on TV, every late-night trip to the corner store for milk or toilet paper or chocolate or cigarettes. My fear on that particular afternoon, as I remember, was that the book just wouldn't hang together. You've got to strike a delicate balance in this kind of thing between telling the story and telling the story, if you know what I mean. And I was worried that maybe there was no story. In addition to this, I was thinking about my apartment on Avenue A and 10th Street and how I needed to move to a bigger place. But how that idea also filled me with dread. Taking my books down off their shelves, sorting through my desk, then packing everything into identical boxes, forget it. I was thinking about my ex-girlfriend, too, Maria, and her 10-year-old daughter, Romy, and how I'd clearly been the wrong guy to be around that situation. I never used to say enough to the mom and couldn't rein in my language when I was talking to the kid. Other dark thoughts I was having. I smoked too much and I had a sore chest. I had a host of companion symptoms as well. Niggly physical things that showed up occasionally. Weird aches, possible lumps, rashes. Symptoms of a condition maybe, or a network of conditions. What if they all held hands one day and lit up and I keeled over dead? I thought about how I hated the way I looked and how I needed a haircut. I flicked ash from my cigarette onto the sidewalk. I glanced up. The corner of 12th and 5th was about 20 yards ahead of me. Suddenly, a guy came careening around the corner from 5th, walking as fast as I was. An aerial view would have shown us, two molecules on a direct collision course. I recognized him at 10 yards, and he recognized me. At 5 yards, we both started putting the brakes on and making with the gestures, the bug eyes, the double takes. Eddie Spinola! Vernon Gant. How are you? God, how long has it been? We shook hands and slapped shoulders. Vernon then stood back a little and started sizing me up. Jesus, Eddie, pack it on, why don't you? This was a reference to the considerable weight I'd gained since we'd last met, which was maybe 9 or 10 years before. He was tall and skinny, just like he'd always been. I looked at his balding head and paused. Then I nodded upwards. Well, at least I still have some choice in the matter. He danced Jake LaMotta style for a moment and then threw me a mock left hook. So what are you up to, Eddie? He was wearing an expensive, loose-fitting linen suit and dark leather shoes. He had gold-rimmed shades on and a tan. He looked and smelled like money. What was I up to? All of a sudden, I didn't want to be having this conversation. I'm working for Kerr and Dexter. You know, the publishers. He sniffed and nodded yeah, waiting for more. I've been a copywriter with them for about 3 or 4 years, textbooks and manuals, that kind of thing. But now they're doing a series of illustrated books on the 20th century, you know, hoping to cash in on an early boom in the nostalgia trade. And I've been commissioned to do one about the design links between the 60s and the 90s. Interesting. Haight-Ashbury and Silicon Valley. Very interesting. I hammered it home. lysergic acid and personal computers. Cool. It's not really. They don't pay very well, and because the books are going to be so short, only about 100 pages, 120, you don't have much latitude, which actually makes it more of a challenge because... I stopped. He furrowed his brow. Yeah? Because explaining myself like this was sending unexpected stabs of embarrassment and contempt right through me and out the other side. I shuffled from one foot to the other. Because, well, you're basically writing captions to the illustrations. And so if you want to get any kind of angle across, you have to be really on top of the material, you know? That's great, man. He smiled. It's what you always wanted to be doing, am I right? I considered this. It was, in a way, I suppose, but not in any way he'd ever understood. Jesus, I thought. Vernon Gant. That must be a trip, he said. Vernon had been a cocaine dealer when I knew him in the late 1980s, but back then he'd had quite a different image. Lots of hair, leather jackets, big into Dow and furniture. It was all coming back to me now. Actually, I'm having a hard time with it, I said, though I don't know why I was bothering to pursue the matter. Yeah? He said, pulling back a little. He adjusted his shades as though he were surprised to hear what I'd said, but was nevertheless ready to start doling out advice once he'd nailed down whatever the problem might be. There's so many strands, you know, and contradictions, it's just hard to work out where to start. I settled my gaze on a car parked across the street, a metallic blue Mercedes. I mean, you've got the anti-technology, back-to-nature 60s, the whole Earth catalog, wind chimes, brown rice, and patchouli. But then you've got the pyrotechnics of rock music, sound and light, the word electric, and the very fact that LSD itself came out of a laboratory. I kept my gaze on the car. And also that, get this, the prototype version of the internet, the ARPANET, was developed in 1969 at UCLA. 1969. I stopped again. The only reason I'd come out with this, I suppose, was because it was on my mind and had been all day. I was just thinking out loud, thinking, what angle did I take? Vernon clicked his tongue and looked at his watch. What are you doing now, Eddie? Walking down the street? Nothing? Having a smoke? I don't know, I can't get any work done. I took a drag from my cigarette. Why? I think I can help you out. He looked at his watch again and seemed to be calculating something for a moment. I stared at him in disbelief and was on the verge of getting annoyed. Come on, I'll explain what I mean, he said. Let's go for a drink. He clapped his hands. Vamos! I really didn't think my heading off with Vernon Gant was such a good idea. Apart from anything else, how could he possibly help me with the problem I just outlined to him? The notion was absurd. But I hesitated. I'd liked the sound of the second part of his proposition, the going for a drink part. There was also, I have to admit, a slight Pavlovian element to my hesitation. The idea of bumping into Vernon and heading off spontaneously to another location stirred something in my body chemistry. Having him say vamos as well was like an access code, or a search word into a whole phase of my life that had been closed off now for nearly 10 years. I rubbed my nose and said, okay. Good. He paused and then said, like he was trying it out for size, Eddie Spinola.